One button to control your entire smart home. Like, how good can it actually be? So let's talk about the Flick Twist. This is Flick's second product, I would say. They first made the Flick button, which is just this tiny guy. This is the second generation, but this is the first sort of completely new button that they're making. And the twist with this guy, pun definitely intended, is that you can rotate it and it will be a dimmable dimmer of sorts. You can configure it to a bunch of different stuff, and it costs right around 80 euros, which in the world of smart home buttons is definitely a little bit expensive. But we'll talk about everything, but first a little bit of a focus on the hardware side. One small note, I have some affiliate links in the description if you plan on buying this product and you want to support the channel a little bit. Doesn't cost you any money, get a small kickback for every sale, and yeah, if you want, just use them down below. I really appreciate it. On to the video. It has a pretty decent weight. There's some magnets on the back that make this very easy to just stick onto a surface. It fits two AAA batteries on the back that should last up to 2 years. There's some LED lights on the front that are essential to figure out what the hell is actually happening. And then I think it's also a requirement. You should get some stickers to mark around the twist, because yes, you can actually convert this button into 12 different buttons if you want to by holding the middle button and then rotating this ring around to select effectively 3 new reprogrammable sets of features for the click, the double click, and the twist rotation. Coming from the custom keyboard world, I really do enjoy a nice clicky button, but this middle button is nowhere near as satisfying as the Flick's button, and just by the sound you'll be able to tell this guy. It's sharp, it's nice, there's a firm press, it's very satisfying, particularly if you hold it in your hand and you're just clicking around, very satisfying. This guy definitely does the job, but it's much sharper, maybe because it's a much bigger sort of surface, and it's just nowhere near as satisfying to just press. But yeah, that's the middle button. As for the twist mechanism, how can I put this delicately? It really feels like they can really decide between making it very smooth or making it extremely tactile. It's somewhere in the middle, and it ends up feeling a little bit sluggish, which by the sound of it, maybe you can't really tell. It's not super pronounced tactility, it's not smooth, it's definitely somewhere in the middle, and it feels okay. It feels workable, but it's not satisfying, I wouldn't say. When rotating, it sort of has a linear progression, making it so that it takes quite a lot of turn to go from 0 to 100%. I feel like they could have added some sort of acceleration to this motion to make it more natural. I have the black one here, and they also made this in white, which I feel like is a much better color to have around the house. This can sort of just be a little bit of an eyesore, and the white just much better integrates with your furniture. And I really do feel like there's some space here to make some sort of new colors. Maybe something like a pastel-y, desaturated color could be quite well sort of in combination with the entire sort of brand image of it being sort of minimalist and Scandinavian design. Maybe even a gray or a light brown, that could be sort of interesting. But we have the black, it's doable. The thing that I'm not super fan from like a hardware perspective is definitely how sort of the back side of the button feels, which if you have this sort of stuck to a wall, you're not going to be able to tell. But if you just have it on a surface and you just hold it and turn it in your hand from time to time, the button on the bottom side is definitely a little bit sharp. Like there's definitely a little bit of a sharp plastic going all the way around, and it can cut you. It's not that sharp, but it doesn't have that sort of premium plastic feel that, for example, the Flick 2 has. It's rounded corners, is just smooth all the way around, and even Even stuff like this mouse, for example, it's fully made of plastic, but the smoothness of the plastic and how it looks and how it curves around, this is sort of a premium plastic that I feel like could be sort of associated with a higher quality product. And given that the Flick Twist costs around 80 euros, maybe it deserves a sort of a better plasticky feeling to it. This is definitely where a button like this could be sort of make or break when it comes to its functionality and justifying the price. And it's very easy to just get the party started and just pair this with either your phone or a hub and just configure stuff and get stuff working immediately. But it's quite important to understand that a hub, in my opinion, is pretty much a necessity to sort of use this to control stuff around the house. Because if you pair it with your phone, not only is it a little bit more unreliable if the phone is locked, for example, but it also makes it so that your phone needs to stay at home to actually work as the hub, which is definitely not ideal. So the Hub Mini is the one that I've used in my setup. It's this tiny little puck that pretty much converts the Bluetooth low energy that comes from these devices onto Wi-Fi and onto your smart home stuff. It's quite understated. It powers with USB-C and pretty much uses no power at all. Like, I plugged this into my router's USB port that I didn't use for anything else, and that was more than enough power to just keep this thing working. But do keep in mind that the hub is an extra 40 euros on top of the 80 that you're paying for each individual twist. They have some discounts with the bundles, but it's definitely something else to take under consideration. Another thing is, if you plan on using it with Apple HomeKit right now, you need to get the long range version of the hub, which is an extra $100. So it's $100 for the long range, $40 for the mini, and that's the only way to actually integrate this into Apple HomeKit. Even though on the website it makes it look like it's compatible with Apple HomeKit, just with the hub long range for now. But they will update both the long range version of the hub and the Hub Mini with Matter later on this year, which pretty much will be the USB-C of smart home stuff. And I see no problems coming in the future for this standard, like we talked about for the previous video about USB-C. But, you know, fingers crossed, Matter will be the savior of all ecosystems around the house, and all this will be supported by that. So it will be easy to just connect and make sure that everything is talking with each other, but just not for right now, which is something that I usually warn people about. Promises for future upgrades can be kind of dodgy, but I feel like it's pretty safe to say that this is a pivotal point of how Flick is sort of positioning these buttons on the market, and as soon as they get that stuff working, they'll ship it as a firmware update for the Hub Mini. The entire point of these buttons for me will be to sort of make the smart home controlling a little bit more approachable to people that don't want to use the Google Assistant or people that come to the house. So I'm not going to go crazy with what I'm going to do with mine. For example, I have a click to turn on and off the living room lights, a double tap to make them go all the way to full brightness, and when I turn, it will dim the lights around the living room to make sure that I get the proper dimness when I'm watching TV, for example. And if I hold the middle button and start rotating this around, I can give individual control to effectively create 12 different Flick twists by selecting one of the modes all the way around. And this is where the stickers come in. So for example, if I turn it to this controller here and I let it go, now when I adjust the brightness, it will start dimming and raising the brightness of the lights that are behind me, which I think is pretty cool. And this is pretty straightforward to configure on the app with Philips Hue bulbs. But if you have LifeX or any other sort of smart bulbs, you probably will find a way to control it via the app. And that's the entire appeal of the Flick system. It's multi-ecosystem compatibility, and that's pretty much what you're paying for with this slightly increased price over, let's say, the default Philips Hue light switches, or if you have IKEA stuff and you want to integrate it in your home. This can be a very good sort of bridge between different ecosystems that, you know, sort of make everything, almost dropped it, make everything work as good as it can possibly do, particularly once Matter comes into the picture. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I hope this was useful in some way for you in your smart home journey. And yeah, I'll talk to you very soon. See you. Bye.